Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wholesale Change, the webcast and podcast from Distribution Strategy Group, where we offer thought leadership for wholesale change agents like you. Because if you're on this show, you probably are a wholesale change agent. My name's Ian Heller with Distribution Strategy Group, and I'll be your co-host today, along with the Duke of Data, the Doctor of Distribution, my friend and business partner, Jonathan Bein, PhD. Jonathan, how are you today, my friend?
Full of D's. How are you, Ian?
No, I'm doing delightful to continue the D alliteration.
I'm glad you're not dastardly devastated.
No, not at all. I'm on vacation, actually. So, I'm doing pretty well down here in Hilton Head Island, although it's been raining a lot. So this is a good time to do the show because I can't go outside and hit the beach anyway. Real quickly, we were here a couple of years ago, and everybody was in the water, right? And suddenly all the lifeguards started whistling and yelling, and this helicopter flies by and they're yelling, "Shark, shark." Everybody runs out of the water, right? So about 5 minutes later, they go, "Oh, okay, all clear." And everybody runs right back in the water. Like, did anyone tell the shark?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I did not go in. But anyway, so we're delighted to have a great guest today. But before we get started, I want to thank our sponsor, which is Epicor. They've been sponsoring us all year long. Thank you so much to Epicor. For nearly 50 years, Epicor has helped distributors stay ahead with flexible, powerful solutions designed to increase sales, streamline operations, and improve customer experience. Epicor's industry-leading ERP solutions are built specifically to meet the unique needs of wholesalers with everything needed to grow your sales, profits, and productivity while distancing yourself from the competition. Epicor is focused on the things that matter to you: work queues, PO variance queues, kitting, assembly, and production orders, advanced inventory forecasting, VMI, and special project pricing. And these are the kinds of services and capabilities that differentiate distributors from pure digital players and some of the disruptors that are out there. Epicor built their software using industry best practices and 50 years of distribution experience. But Epicor solutions are far more than just tools for pick, pack, and ship. Fully cloud-based with a modern UI, Epicor offers complete, robust e-commerce solutions, powerful BI and analytics tools, modern API and EDI, value-added services, WMS, virtual assistants, and more. You can learn more about how Epicor helps thousands of wholesalers succeed by visiting epicor.com. Well, I'm delighted to introduce our guest. Today, it is Julie Copeland, who is the CEO of Arbill Industries, a job that she's held since 2005. Julie, thank you so much for joining us today, and welcome to the Wholesale Change Show.
I'm delighted to be here. I'm going to stick with the D theme, see if I can keep up with the two of you.
So, Julie, we give your background up here, and I was talking before the show started, and I said, I had to reduce the font on this because you're involved in so much and you're so accomplished. And I was wondering if you wouldn't mind just taking a couple of minutes and telling us a little bit about your background. I mean, you've been CEO of Arbill for 16 years now. That's a big deal, but you've done a lot of other things as well. You want to give us the thumbnail tour of this?
Absolutely. The first thing that I got involved in, besides leading Arbill, was helping women thrive in the workplace. I know firsthand how challenging that can be. And so I got very involved with an organization called Bein. And there are, unfortunately, more businesses that don't make it than do. So it really became near and dear to my heart to help and raise up other women to thrive in the workplace. And so by getting so involved, I can just continue to move through from a local engagement to a national platform. And ultimately, I sat on the board of Bein for 6 years, and I led and helped lead the 14,000 women at the time, which is now 17,000 certified women, as chair of the forum. So that was just an unbelievable experience. And because of that experience, I was then asked to sit on the board of the National Association of Manufacturers, which, as you can only imagine, being in a space in which I protect every day people at work in manufacturing, that environment is very important to me, that they thrive and are supported in safe ways. And so there was a clear connection for my engagement there. And then Arbill loves myself as well as my company. We love to give back, and it's very important to us to give back. In fact, throughout this, it'll likely come up just because it's so much of part of our fabric of the organization. But I'm now on my local board for the American Red Cross, and it's just a wonderful way for myself, my organization, to help an incredible organization that helps people at probably their most dire times of their life. And we certainly can help the organization as a whole with safety support, but it's just simpler than that, just volunteering and help people at a time of crisis.
That's
I know we
fantastic.
cover a lot about Arbill, so that's the rest of it.
Yeah. Well, and your educational background's impressive. So you've got a BSc in communications from Syracuse, an MBA from Temple, and you've been to a couple of executive programs. Now, I'm a graduate of Kellogg, so I guess maybe I'm focused irrationally on that. But how was that innovation program? Was that useful to you?
It was really, we have a line of products that we manufacture under Trueline. And this was years ago when we really wanted to grow this line and bring more safety innovations to the marketplace. Really helped in our thinking about identifying where there were market opportunities. And so that was extremely helpful. The Harvard Business Program was a more strategic, sort of 10,000 view. What do we want to be best at? Why were we doing what we were doing? And that really helped us shape what we do really well and what we don't do well. And then going to Newhouse and having the opportunity to learn from the best communicators in the world, that really helps sort of in everyday dialogue, whether you're writing, you're communicating, or doing a program like today. And then I went to the Fox Business School at Temple to get my MBA, which was really an incredible experience with some brilliant people. So that's my educational overview.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much. So I'm going to stop this for a minute and ask you a couple of questions. Now, this private label brand that you have, is it Trueline? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So we're big believers that distributors, should focus on private label when they can. As you look back on how that's developed, has it met your expectations, exceeded them? How's it been received in the marketplace?
It's exceeded my expectations. It's been incredible. There are definitely lanes we don't belong in. We have some incredible partners that do certain lanes of safety better than us, but as it relates to understanding what the end user needs, we are right there in it. And we know safety and we understand where the breakdowns are. So I think it's really a strength of ours around where there are opportunities to bring greater innovations to the market. And so from that perspective, we've created some really great products. Our brand name certainly isn't as big or as prominent, but when you try the product, it makes all the difference in the world. So we've had some really great success by just getting it out there and letting the end user use it, and the impact has been tremendous.
That's exciting, and I wanted to share a video that's on your homepage. It's just about a minute long. So let me bring this up here and I'll play it. So this is a bit of an overview of the company. The title is Arbill is Changing Workplace Safety.
Do you have the sound set up, Ian?
Okay, so I understand you can't hear the audio. My apologies for that, but I think you should go to this page and watch this. But a lot of what you're doing, as I went through your website and as I read interviews with you, Julie, is you have a real passion for keeping people safe, right?
Oh, for sure. There's very much delineation around what we will do and what we won't do in terms of being birthed out of distribution. We truly want to grow our business. And while we do that, we want to do good for the world. And so it's extremely important to me and to our values that we are really protecting people and ensuring that they're living a better life because of the work that we're doing in partnership with their employers.
So, we talked about this in our preparation. It's kind of a combination of Tom's of Maine, Tom Chappelle, and Paul Hawken, right? Because Tom's of Maine is a manufacturer. Smith & Hawken created one of the most prolific gardening stores in the country. They are in the channel, right? And both of them had this philosophy, this sort of visionary perspective of how we can help the world, the way we do business, right?
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Smith & Hawken?
Well, yes, I am. And the fact that you even couple Arbill into their company, I'm very humbled by that. And I sit here smiling, thinking maybe it's having an impact. Maybe our reach and belief is having an impact, because I remember early on people would sort of roll their eyes like, sure. And I was, no, really, we're going to make decisions around here that we're going to do good. And if we're not doing good, we won't do it. And we really carved our way out of items and services that didn't fit that model at all. And we really deliver on things that make lives safer, whether it's in our industrial market or our government or now our consumer marketplace. We are constantly thinking, testing, applying this outlook around, does this do good? Does this enhance someone's life? Does it make them safer? Then let's proceed.
And that was those were guiding principles when you developed a special mask of your own during COVID, right? And
yes,
I do have an infographic that's from your website that I can bring up when you're ready. But I know you were, first of all, concerned that many of the masks weren't actually meeting the specs that they claimed, and also about the environmental impact of all these masks getting discarded. Do you want to give us a little background on, why you did what you did, how you did it, and the outcome?
sure. So early on, we recognized right away that we had to make a new PPE product. That's how we saw it. Whether or not it needed to be at the level of a respirator or not, that was unclear right away. But for everyday civilians, we knew they had to do or wear something. And we knew what we were protecting against because there was data on the virus, on how large the virus was. And so we knew what we were protecting against. That's what we're filtering against. So as a respiratory mindset, we make products and we think about, what are we protecting against? So the first thing was, what am I filtering against? What's the size of it? And can I create something to protect against it? So that was our first thought process. Once we achieved that barrier, we then worked towards creating something that was the most breathable, because that was the comfort factor in this, right? I could put duct tape on your mouth. I could protect you, give you proper filtration, but you're not going to wear it. Nothing about that's comfortable. So the next thing became getting the most breathable while maintaining the filtration that we absolutely had to have. And then that afforded us the opportunity to build out something that we thought was pretty remarkable in the marketplace that could properly protect people, because we thought of the item not as a bandana over your face, but we thought of it as PPE. We also didn't think of it as a fashion statement, although we did make something that looks relatively good. We thought of it as, this is the product that will help protect you. The other thing we thought about is usability. These are sort of the things we go through whenever we're creating product. We need this to last, because if it doesn't last, we're throwing away so much stuff. And that became an issue for us. And so we were able to make something that could wash and be reused over 50 times. And it would still carry the same protective characteristics, which was so essential. And then the last piece for us was, can this decompose quickly and not do what everything in the market was doing? There are certain people that have to have N95s. There's nothing better than that. But those that are wearing civil masks or surgical masks thinking they're civil masks, there's a much better path forward. There's no reason we need to be in civil masks, because they take 450 years to decompose. They are only a one-time use. The virus stays on the product. You can't wash it off and reuse it. So you end up disposing multiple masks a day. And when they don't disintegrate for 450 years, and we now have 1.5 million of them in our oceans, I mean, it's a travesty, the whole problem. And so that's why it was important our product decomposes only in 5 months. You could wear it over 50 times, and it provided, first and foremost, the proper level of protection. And I'll tell you, if you asked me 2.5 years ago, was I going to end up in this consumer marketplace? Not a chance. But the only way that we could protect them was to go directly to them.
So I'm just want to make a little correction here. I think that was 1.5 billion as opposed to 1.5h million. Right?
You're absolutely correct. Thank you, Jonathan.
And then
that's why we need a PhD in the house.
That's all I'm good for. I'm just a calculator. The second thing is I want to remind our audience to ask questions. Ian and I are going to be asking questions. Julie, it sounds like you created a product that really does not have trade-offs per se. You know, does it end up being more expensive as a result of what you're doing? But you've really eliminated a lot of the trade-offs in this whole mask world, right?
It's 0.8 cents a use is what it comes down to. Wow. So it's extremely affordable. And that was another key piece for us, because we know what PPE should cost. And we're very careful to bring things to the market so that they are properly affordable. And it remained in that range throughout it, where you also saw lots of price gouging through this whole COVID experience. And that was never the path we took. We took a path which was, we need to protect as many people as we possibly can, because then we can get on with the business of living.
Yeah, so for our podcast listeners, I'm showing an infographic from Arbill.com, and it says that by the end of the pandemic, worldwide, people will have worn 2.3 trillion with a T masks. And these are the masks that don't biodegrade for 450 years. Just 15 million of them will be recycled. 1.5 billion ended up in the ocean to join all the other plastic that's already there. And, you know, wildlife getting caught in them. But this mask, and these are some of the statements on here, filters 95% of particles 3 microns or larger. It exceeds standards for breathability and filtration. It fits over your nose and mouth without the glasses fogging. Man, I wish I'd known about that earlier, because that's a big problem for me. It's breathable. It's what I think is interesting about this is the combination of it being, well, in addition to those other features, is it's washable, but it also biodegrades in 5 months. So that almost looks like you did some materials engineering, or you worked with somebody who was an expert at it to create that washability, but not a lack of biodegradability. I mean, and you did it in a short period of time. How do you must have rallied your whole team around this, Julie?
Oh, absolutely. What I would tell you is we already had this sort of innovation muscle cooking at Arbill. It's part of who we are. And so we just shifted our energy to this and put all hands on deck to create something that would still meet our demands and even though everything was speed to market, and we were certainly mindful of that because we were trying to race to protect as many people as possible, we still took our time to ensure that we were developing the right product for the situation that we were in as a country and quite frankly as a world.
How much were you doing in private label and manufacturing prior to this innovation?
It's a significant portion of what we do for
Okay.
certain. So it really is very much part of our DNA.
It seems to me, tell me if this is correct, I've come across other safety distributors who have somebody manufacturing gloves for them, for example, or other safety products. It seems like a trend. I don't know if it's a majority, but I've seen a number of safety distributors that are doing that.
I can't speak to that, whether how they're doing it and what they're doing it, but we have a design and engineering team. I mean, we have an innovation lab and R&D outlook, and that might be a little bit different than what you're coining as private label. I don't develop Me Too items. We're actually developing items where we see there's a need in the market and bringing an innovation to fulfill that need so that we can reduce the risk that's there. And I think that value we bring forward for all of our manufacturing partners. So we do have an incredible relationship with 3M and Honeywell and DuPont, Kimberly-Clark, MSA, and that same view we have at industry, we bring that to our manufacturing partners as well to talk about gaps in the market and risks that exists. Because there's, like I said early on, there's lanes where we don't thrive in our development. And there are much better players than us in certain lanes. And we are able to bring that same outlook and perspective for them that we do for some of our own product lines. And I think it's made our partnerships with our manufacturers so strong.
And in terms of the services that you offer in general, perhaps around this, could you describe where Arbill plays in the services space? Because one of the things about a lot of the safety products is that a lot of them are very commoditized. Some of them are not, but a lot of them are very commoditized. So I think the services angle is interesting and would love to hear your thoughts.
So the services piece for us is a very important part in our partnership with our customers, that safety is not something you should just lock and load and never shift that item, because your applications are constantly changing and we see manufacturing always innovating and adjusting. And as soon as you shift in any way, you want to relook at the way that you are protecting your employees. So in that way, our clients lean on us, and we have the EH&S, environmental health and safety expertise on staff available to help them in partnership with them, because they too have their own EH&S team. But what is so valuable is the fact that we can come in without the blind spots that they have. You know, sometimes we can't see anymore because we see it every day. And so when you bring someone in from the outside that just has this wide net of safety expertise, they can help and see things and help protect in ways that perhaps they wouldn't have otherwise seen. So that really is what starts to change it from just, you know, order.com and have it drop into, there's a real value in making sure that you're constantly looking at the environment that they're in, enriching the environment that they're in, and ensuring that they have the best in PPE and the best in training that's needed, as well as there's incredible technologies out today, and certainly some new innovative safety programs as well. So we look at it very holistically at protecting that employee. They need far more than just PPE. They need other things as well, and they need to make sure that the PPE that they're wearing is the best that's available. Because I ultimately think employers are realizing now more than ever and I commend them for this, that an unsafe workplace is expensive. People used to get focused in on that price of that product, but they're realizing when it's all said and done, I might have to spend a little bit more for that product, but that's pennies to get the proper protection if I really have a protected workforce. And I know today more than ever, they're challenged with getting people in the workplace. And it's a talent war right now. Our demographics are changing, and we need to make sure those that we have in the workplace are properly protected. And we certainly help our clients do that.
So looking at, go ahead, Jonathan.
Go ahead, Amy.
Well, I was looking at your website as we were preparing for this, and you have a solutions tab and a presentation of your services that is just a great example of how to do it right for a distributor. And we often talk to distributors about their services, and they say, oh, they're so important to us, they're really differentiating. Look on their website, it's like, if you want to learn about their services, you have to dig around and find a sentence or two, but they're not presented well or in a compelling fashion. Yours are all collected, they're compelling. You have a whole infographic about how you organize your services. And I noticed that in one section, you talk about your EHS managed services. You say you have more than 60 OSHA compliance and safety training programs, which is an unusual number, I think, and then unusually high in a good way. You also offer site assessments, audits, staff augmentations, industrial hygiene services. That seems to go way beyond what the normal safety distributor would offer. So a couple of questions, I guess. How is that working for you? Are there any of those that you monetize on their own? How does that contribute to customer loyalty?
Well, it's this holistic approach that I've been talking about, that you can't protect, in our view, just by PPE. And even though our clients have EHS employees on staff, again, you have blinders on. So to have a partnership with Arbill, you get so much more than just the right product in stock at the right time, delivered, and all of that. But we're also able to provide them great depth on EHS. Now, you want to talk to me about tools? I don't have it. And I know that many safety distributors have, and I do that in quotes if you can't see me, they have lots of other stuff, right? And so I can't imagine they really have the depth of expertise when you've got to be an expert at widgets and pipes and fittings and so on. So there's real depth to our EHS offering, and that we really are safety experts, and we've got a team behind it that can help. And doing site audits is a key piece of it. And so it's as important as that, as well as whatever classes. And oftentimes organizations just don't have their EHS talent with the proper certifications needed for a particular type of training or programming that they need to do. So it's great to get it augmented by Arbill. We can support them in any way that they need that support. So it's really just everything safety. They can turn to us for all of that.
What does a site assessment or audit look like?
A site assessment is, I don't know how to dig into it for your audience, but we come in because it's so specific, but we come in and provide a total overview of all of their safety risks, just at a very high level. We're identifying all of the risks associated with their workplace and ways in which that they can enhance their level of protection overall.
Okay, and then that leads to a series of recommendations for changes and product applications, I assume?
Absolutely.
And
it really could be a good, better, best. So it's sort of like, let's just do bare minimum, but we're giving you a path of how you can really excel in this way. And like I started with, it's very important in terms of return on investment to their organization by having a safe work environment.
Right. Yeah, and of course you can't measure the ROI on people not getting hurt or people not getting killed.
Well, that's our.
I read something on your site that there are like 13 people killed on the job every day in the United States.
Yeah, that's actually, I think, 1 or 2 years old, and I think the numbers actually recently elevated. So
Gosh.
it's a problem. It's a real problem. And it's really changing a behavioral outlook. It's not just doing the physical things, but really changing the way you think about safety overall. So I just want to make note, I'm sorry for this, but nothing much I could do about it, but there is a very big thunderstorm coming through right now. So I don't know how choppy I'll be and if I'll even keep power, but we'll just keep motoring on here.
Terrific.
I'm just giving you a heads up that I can't control the weather.
Maybe the thunderstorm that's coming your way can take out the fly that's been bothering me this entire time.
Perfect.
So, one of the things that's happened over the years in safety is it's gone from pure players like Arbill to kind of a stocking stuffer for the generals. And I'm curious if you could comment on the dynamics around that, because for a lot of the generals, it's just like, wow, let's make more money. But what do you have to say?
I think there's two types of companies out there. If we just focus on the ultimate customer, there's a customer that says, I want to reduce my buy, reduce my supplier base, reduce, cost save at a line item level. And that's one set of goals. And then there are box movers that are going to deliver that for them. That game, in my opinion, or that decision, this is my humble opinion, that only can do so much for so long. But if you want to continuously protect your employees, bring innovations to the table, you're going to find a lane for us, and you're going to find a lane for the experts. And I'm seeing more and more of that kind of play out in other fields as well. It's not necessarily safety, although when you're dealing with protecting a person's life, it's critical. But you're seeing more of these boutique outlook have a greater play, because there is deeper value that the end user can ultimately have by having these richer relationships that have to be good at business. Whereas before, you just couldn't keep up. There was so much happening that the big box movers had. But technology's leveled the playing field in ways that others might have had greater advantages to, but we put back and ship just as good as anybody, in fact, better, because of our expertise. So we've got sort of the operational side of it ticked and tied. And some of the big box movers used to have a little bit stronger advancement there because they had the billions to invest in it. But now the playing field is leveled out in that way, and the depth of knowledge has really become the value add that you see the end user really respect and value.
So your market are the value buyers, not the price buyers, is what I'm hearing. The price buyers are the ones that are interested in that per line item, minimize costs, consolidating vendors, the whole bit, right?
Yeah, and I think the price buyer sees oftentimes that the safety injuries start to escalate. So right. They might be looking at this piece, but somebody else should be looking at that piece. And that's the bigger impact to the business. So certainly the price buyer, it's a short game. It's not the long game.
So I read an interview that you did, probably, a couple of years ago. And someone asked you, what are the 5 most important things you should know to create a successful e-commerce business? Because underlying all the services that you offer and the expertise about safety and the good that you're doing environmentally is a very successful e-commerce business. And you had said, you got to reduce friction, you have to communicate, you have to be reliable, you need to have clarity and approachability, and you have to have privacy with secure transactions and proper privacy protection. I mean, that's a really expert answer. So as you look back on building this successful e-commerce business, which is just the foundation for a lot of the other things that you do, can you walk us through some, that thinking, reduce friction, communicate, be reliable, be clear and approachable, and have good privacy?
Well, the consumer market has set the expectations, right? I don't really know anyone that doesn't transact on Amazon.com. Think what you want about them, but they've
Yeah.
simplified our lives, and they are creating the expectation that a buyer is used to, period, because we are all buyers of something. And so if you're using that as the baseline, then you know what they're expecting and what that means to have a frictionless transaction, and how important it is to be communicating every step of that way, right? So if you hit different than perhaps an Amazon, ship me my toilet paper, my paper towels, although they had many snafus along the way with COVID, lots of product can be built to order. So it's very important that the communication is there, and that you are setting proper expectations, and that you're working with clients around what their needs are, because so much of it is just in time, and you're getting ahead of all of that. It's also very important that the buyer can do their proper research, and that they can learn and do really the buying in their research process, and that you are providing the right kinds of information so that they can do the comparisons, and they can ask the right kinds of questions of our expert team, right? They want to get themselves up to a certain level, so then they can go deeper. And then when the experts start telling them key answers, it makes a lot more sense to them, because they've already done the preliminary step of reading what's there, and then our team can go even deeper with them now that their knowledge level's at a certain point. So all that, you have to make up the expectation is that it's there already. And that's sort of our outlook around e-commerce. I hope that helps.
It does. And one thing that I saw on your website in your About Company section that is not very common, not common enough in my opinion and my experience, is you have a statement that you're proud of your diversity. And I'll just read the sentence here. Arbill's commitment to diverse workforce has helped us grow in our agility and flexibility to meet our customer needs. We share different points of view so we can arrive at the best solution. So what I like about that is your experience is this, I think, is the same as mine, really, which is that diversity isn't something that you do to accommodate a social good. I mean, it creates a social good, but you actually implement diversity because it makes you a stronger and better company. Can you go through some of your thinking and experience on that?
Oh, I think it's sort of very much part of the fabric of our organization to have a diversity in everything that we do. Diversity in thought is so important, especially when you think about who your buyers are, who your customers are. They're all diverse in nature. And if we don't share in that outlook and acceptance, and look at life as an and versus an or, there's so much or right now. There's so much this way or that way. And there needs to be so much more and. There's this way and there's this way. And it's that acceptance of and that gets you to a totally different outcome. You wouldn't have got there if you didn't look at it as an and. It really, because or says it can only be this way. We're going to go down this path. We're going to make these decisions in this way. And then you just forget this whole other group. But by having women, men of color, it's very important that you understand and appreciate what their lives are, what they're going through, and it helps us in our decision-making process when you have women leaders and what that life looks like versus male leaders that might also have a working spouse, or you could have spouses that are home that are assisting you. That creates all different kinds of work outcomes for people and all different kinds of outlooks in the way that we make decisions. So it's very much a part of how we look at everything. And it's how we also source new vendors. We're always looking to make sure that we include diverse suppliers in the mix. And we have to go look for them because they're a little harder to find. They're much smaller. But what we have found, just like in our case with Arbill, it's the boutique player. It's the one that's really great at their thing. And we've gained a lot of value by having this outlook and bringing that type of attitude and outlook to our whole workplace.
And when you are in a situation like some of the organizations you've served on, where you're coaching women how to work in what is very much a male-dominated industry, or whether it's a manufacturing or distribution, are there key lessons that you have learned along the way that you can share that maybe reduce the learning curve, or help other women succeed more quickly because you're able to understand the situations they face better than maybe other mentors they have?
So I've always been told, you know, be easy on yourself. But any woman who's striving to get ahead and try and have it all, it's sort of very hard to do. And I'll just
Right.
put it out there, right? So whoever says that, you know, I think the thing for me that I'm always working on is sort of learning myself and getting over myself. So if we put that to the side and say, look, we're already pushing the envelope, the piece that has really helped me the most is constantly surround yourself with great people in everything. And what I mean by that is I have changed doctors and dentists for my kids because they make me wait an hour. That's just not okay.
Yeah.
You have to respect my time and I'll respect your time. And I'm using that as just a simple example, but it goes in everything. You have to be surrounded by great teams everywhere. Then of course at work, it's a great team defined by different things. But as long as you are constantly looking and evaluating, are these the best for me, my life, my family, my work? That really helps you altogether thrive in every way. And being hard on ourselves is part of our DNA, and it's part of what gets us ahead. So sometimes when I hear these things, these sort of beautiful things, my life work is sort of figuring out myself and
Yeah.
constantly working to be the best version of myself. And that's much harder to change. So my big advice is keep surrounding yourself with great people and surround yourself with diversity of thought, because without it, it makes the challenge far harder. People are not understanding, and you get back to this world of the ors versus the ands. And I see an or a mile away now. And I try and do my part to help them become an and sometimes I can convert them, but if I can't, I wish them well.
um, Now, as an e-business, do you have outside sales reps, Julie, or are they mostly outside consultants like EHS people?
They're more advisor-like people. They're just incredible communicators. So they've got what people would call sort of that salesy um, communication style. So they're the extroverts, but they really are experts in their field. Some with true certifications and others with just they get just a phenomenal amount of training all the time. So their expertise is quite deep.
And when you are expanding your business through e-commerce, I assume a lot of that is that through SEO, through email marketing. How do you get new customers and generate leads for growing your business?
Still the greatest, I mean, the core of our business is government agencies and big industrial accounts and word of mouth and referrals. They're all in sort of their own communities and they end up talking to each other. And our biggest growth has come from, do you know this great company, Arbill? They're doing unbelievable things. And the safety records of our customers speaks for themselves. So we are always asking, what are their safety records when we arrive and when we've made our mark for a few years with them? And that has really given us incredible amounts of opportunities because of our track record.
Well, that's really interesting. So they will share that information with you. So I guess they want to do that in a way, because that's a shared goal between you and the customer.
And it is a shared goal, right? If we're not, and I think distribution, big distributors, big MRO providers, they're about pick, pack, and ship, fill rate, on-time delivery, which, by the way, we track all of that for our clients.
Sure.
But we go the step further to say, look, when it's all said and done, those things are critical, and we're going to track them and we'll review them with you on a regular basis. But we need to know your safety record, and we need to know that together we're bringing it to the right pace. We need to impact lives here. We need to reduce it, and we need to do it, accomplish it together. And we consider that part of our key success.
I really feel the passion you bring around
Yeah.
this. I mean, it approaches an evangelical level and transmits to other people. It's powerful.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
So I got to tell you also, when I was on your website, I noticed your tagline, which is safer every day. And so Jonathan and I, we do a lot of value proposition work for distributors, and the default tagline is, oh, well, it's usually something that tries to sum up what the company does. It's not about what the customer gets, right? And so yours is the customer benefit. You are safer every day. It's not about Arbill, the right safety products right here, right now, whatever. And
Yeah.
in fact, that whole notion of what you want, when you want it, we actually did a Google search and found that was first used in 1919 by a supplier to the timber industry. And so I think by now we can agree that it's just kind of table stakes that you're going to have the right products.
Right.
This is what good distributors do. Good distributors get you what you need when you need it. Now, what else are you going to do for me, right?
Right. You can't be in the game without it, right?
Right.
You wait 2 weeks for your product to arrive. That's not going to work.
Right. It's like a manufacturer saying, ABC Manufacturing, our products work. Like, okay, well, that's not really differentiating because they don't work in auto manufacturing, right? And so it was really refreshing for me to see that customer directed statement, because that's the outcome, that's the benefit, and that's the way we like to write taglines. So I know you may have had that for a long time, you may not even remember, but how did you guys come up with that? Because that's what the kind of thing distributors should tell their customers about their brands are.
Right. Well, sitting around the room with my bunch of smart people saying, what are we trying to accomplish for people?
Yeah.
Well, we just want them to be safer and better every day. That's what we're striving for. And so, a bunch of Post-its and a bunch of things on a board, and you get to, well, then it's just making it safer every day. That's what we're out for. That's what we want to accomplish. And it turns out it ended up being for more divisions than we originally expected, right? It started with just the industrial marketplace, but we then realized that the government was being underserved, and we then expanded there. And now we want to make civilians' world safer every day. And that became evident in COVID, that they were not getting the proper protection, and that there was an opportunity for us to do so because it was so core to who we were. And we saw there was just this enormous gap.
I think Ian and I are both relieved to hear that. It sounds like you didn't use a branding agency.
Oh, I didn't use a branding agency. Sorry,
Great.
if that was what you were getting to.
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
No,
go ahead.
Yeah, no, this was just sort of my team getting around a table and saying, what do we do? What are we trying to accomplish here? And that's how we got to that. And by the way, though, I did have a branding agency that ultimately make it look really good. And they still gave us, their permission that this was on the right path, because that isn't what we do. So we did get all that sort of the cherry on top piece done for us.
Is that also a rallying cry internally? We're going to make our customers safer every day.
Everything, every minute, every dollar, equally in value. My team's time is always about, is that going to help them be safer? If it is, then we need to spend time and energy on it. If it's not, we need to move on.
Yeah, well, I think when you have a great brand, and that's obviously not just the typeface in the logo, it's a mission that you're communicating to your customers, but it also summarizes some work that employees can be passionate about. I mean, what could be more important than keeping people safer every day? And so people, I'm sure in your company, get up in the morning and feel like, I'm about to do important work again today.
Oh, and there's no doubt about it. And nothing felt more truthful on that statement than in the middle of COVID. It was an unbelievable feat that my team accomplished. They were at their desks at 6 in the morning and they weren't leaving their desk till 11 at night. And they did it for days, for weeks, and then months, right? It started off with, there'll be an end, there'll be an end, there'll be an end to this. And it wasn't until almost 12 months in, just shy of 12 months, that we finally were like, everyone, we need to take a break. And we would push people out for vacation. No one was taking vacations. No one was taking a break. And when you have government agencies that needed us, it was just, we felt very much that we were in the position where we could make a difference. And it was unbelievable to see the entire organization step up in such beautiful ways, and the sacrifices that they made and how hard they worked. And we would finish a day and we would start the next morning and we would just say, we did it. We got it there and it made it. The other piece was there was so much poor behavior happening. And we spent a lot of time vetting through what was really good product, what was really product at all. So it was exhausting. And we used our subject matter expertise to make sure that things were legitimate. There were crazy amount of imposters in the market, and we spent a lot of time doing the work to make sure that whomever the end user was of that product, if it came and was touched by us, they could be assured that they would be protected. And I have to give the manufacturers credit, especially 3M. We worked hand in hand with them. They were so remarkable in their desire, of course, to deliver, number one, but number two, in our mutual effort to stop the fraud that was happening. And we engaged FBI when appropriate to try and help stop the craziness that was happening, because you were thinking you were properly protected, but in fact you weren't. Yeah. And I'm okay if at the end of the day that was better than nothing. I just want the end user to know that, and that wasn't clear for many. And so we really exhausted ourselves, and thanks to the NAM, we were hooked into the White House, we were hooked into Washington to try and help and influence the right outcomes, because it wasn't 2-ply, 3-ply, it was filtration. And really just helping everyone understand how we could properly be protected. So yeah, I never felt it more than I did during the last 18 months.
So in COVID parlance, you were a truly essential business.
Mm-hmm. And I remember one day early on, I think it was April, there was a police officer, a local police came by, and he stopped me and he says, if you need anything, you let us know. We are here to help. Do you need us to help drive any of your employees in, help with your commuting? Because we know you don't want them on the bus. And I just got out of my car and I, with my proper mask on, gave the police officer a hug and just was so grateful for showing that kind of love and support. And our team was incredible. They were we got them there so that they could all do their part. We were very much a part of the solution. We were very much essential.
Did you have a work from home policy before? Did you change it at all during COVID? Are you going to change it going forward? How do you think about that?
The big mystery, right?
Yeah.
So there's, the pendulum has swung. I do not think it will ever go back to the way that it was. Those must have been rules written by somebody that had a lot of support at home, right? So
yeah, they were. We know for sure they were.
Yeah, right. So now that I've lived through the pendulum coming the whole other way, there are certainly employees at Arbill that no matter what I do, the work they need to do is at a building where the product is at, where the manufacturing needs to be done. There's nothing I can do to change that outcome. All I can do is continue to make that workplace as safe as I possibly can. But for those that work revolves around a computer and a phone, there are a whole lot of options. And in ways that we believe we needed to be together, that script has been rewritten. What I think is work that we continue to do is to figure out what does culture look like now? How do you create connection? How do you create the water cooler ideas that oftentimes were brilliant? So how do you accomplish those things in a new environment? But what it will look like, something new in September. We're going to attempt in September to bring some people together at some periods of time for deliberate reasons, but we'll continue to offer a working from anywhere kind of environment and be focused on getting the role done. Here are the expectations, and as long as you get them done, you can accomplish it from anywhere.
Yeah, I'd say we're seeing the same thing. I mean, the pendulum's coming back some, but and I think also talking to different hiring managers, because a lot of people call us because they're looking for suggestions about candidates. And we've talked to several people who said, well, yeah, actually this job was located in Austin, but now we don't really care anymore. We just want the right person. I think it actually allows you to raise your talent level if you are less fussy about where people live. So I think we're gonna wrap up now. We're running out of time, Julie. We could easily talk to you the rest of the day, but we are approaching the end of the hour. So I wanted to say, thank you so much for being on the show. As I mentioned before we went live, you're a friend of the company. We owe you a favor, so please let us know if we can help you with anything. We do have our next show is coming up on Wednesday, August 4th. The subject will be how distributors can develop a compelling value proposition. So it's funny that we got on that topic here with Julie, Jonathan, because she's done such a nice job with it. It's not just the slogan. It's, if you dig deeper into their website, they have a very compelling value proposition that they present to customers. And looks like we lost her. I guess that storm has knocked out her power, as she warned us. Fortunately, we got through the conversation with her first. Also, don't miss our next webcast with the National Association of Wholesaler Distributors. Their Institute for Distribution Excellence sponsors a whole research series that we're doing. And the next program should be very interesting. It's about emerging and traditional technology requirements. So we'll talk about some foundational things like ERP and website software, et cetera, but we'll also go through some things around AI and some other technologies that are becoming more important to distributors over time. That's on Tuesday, August 10th at 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. To register for that, go to naw.org/go/adding value. To register for a wholesale change episode, go to distributionstrategy.com, and there's a place where you can click on the wholesale change show and register for that. Julia is back just in time for us to wrap up. Julie, sounds like you lost power. Are you okay out there?
Yep, I'm now on my phone. So I figured I would just dial in to say goodbye. But at least you had the heads up that it's all going down here now.
Well, the timing couldn't have been better, but I hope you have power restored soon. And we do have your email address in here if people want to reach you. It's jbc@arbill.com. That's ARB like boy, ILL, jbc@arbill.com. Julie, thanks again for your time today.
You guys were wonderful. Thank you so much. It was great to be here with you today.
Well, it was our honor. Jonathan, great working with you again.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. Take care.
You bet, everyone. We'll see you a couple weeks in the Wholesale Chain Show. Between now and then, good business to you, but also stay safe. Right, Julie?
You got it. Stay safe.
Every day.
Every day.
Safer every day. All right.
Bye, gentlemen.
Bye, everyone.
Take care.
You too.